I'll
They're
be
right
okay
there.
afterwards. I'm fine. If it's plastic, no. Thanks. Sorry. You know what I mean? So hey everyone, I'm very happy that we have folks in attendance. Um, we're going to play an award-winning, very short, and I want to explain it first. My name is Larry Engel,
I'm Jashira Serrano,
and I'm from American University in Washington, D.C.
and I'm from the University of Rochester Medical Center.
And here we are on stage to celebrate your great work.
Thank you.
So, a while back, let me take a different step. I've been interested in smartphone filmmaking for about a decade. And I've been applying techniques of professional cinematography to the smartphone world for a very long time. And to prove how good the work can be, as you did, in 2018, I went to the Amazon with a GoPro and my iPhone 6 Plus. I spent 6 days in country in the Amazon. I made a film about 3 indigenous peoples fight against their Peruvian government, big mining and big oil, and it premiered last March at the Washington, D.C. Environmental Film Festival. My budget was $5,000 and an iPhone. And I'm all about making sure that that films are made by the people whose voices we need to hear, which includes yours. So I went to the folks at AAAS. I'm a 2-time AAAS journalism winner. I'm in the Writers Guild of America, the Directors Guild of America, and I won an Emmy in cinematography. And so when I say the smartphone is a valuable tool, I actually know what I'm talking about, right? And so we came, American University and AAAS decided to create the inaugural smartphone mini documentary science competition in the United States, right? You have to be over 18 and enrolled in university. Other than that, no holds barred. And so without further ado, I'd like to show your film. And we'll talk about it after.
The Earth is changing, and science is changing with it. Every day, our surroundings, the most common aspect of our lives, are greatly impacted by the choices we make. As a translational biomedical science student in upstate New York, I study the biological markers that connect behavioral patterns and carry on from pregnancy onto childhood. Data from blood samples is extremely beneficial for my research. It's where we obtain information on cytokine presence, which we use to analyze stress, with the prospect of finding a biological link to behavioral patterns. Over the last decade, studies have provided the foundation for the current theory that psychological distress has an innate immunological base. At least some types of depression may be causally mediated by chronic increases of pro-inflammatory cytokines, which not only act as messengers to cells in the immune system, but also instruct the brain to initiate a robust constellation of depressive-like symptoms, originally known as sickness behavior. In this field, commonly known as psychoneuroimmunology, is a great example of how translational science works and why meetings like the AAAS conference are so important. Scientists from all fields need a space to gather and share ideas, which can ultimately lead through breakthroughs in one or multiple fields. With a mission to advance science, engineering, and innovation through the world to benefit all people, the AAAS is a wonderful tool to connect with other scientists that have a vision of improving science, whether it's by providing blood analysis testing, imaging systems, or simply by bouncing off ideas with like-minded individuals that have a mission to improve science. This planet is facing new challenges from both nature and the built world, and scientific application is the best tool we have to react and progress.
Thank you. I had never seen it on a screen bigger than my iPhone, so that was interesting.
How did it feel?
It
It is different,
Okay.
isn't it?
So
Easier to
being a
see.
trader can really
It is
suck
easier
at
to see.
times, especially if you're
So
losing a lot of
the
money
time
on
limit was
trade after
anything
trade
under
after
3
trade,
minutes.
and you're stuck in
So
a
it's
little bit of
truly
a
a mini
But
doc.
trading can also
And
be
we hope
tremendous
that
amount
we'll
of fun,
continue to
especially
see
if you know what you're doing
both
and you're making
communicators,
money.
journalists, and
Hi, my name is
documentarians,
Tyson
but
Clayton,
also
and I
other
train
scientists
tens of thousands
embrace
of investors
the
from all
importance
around
of
the
visual
world.
storytelling
And I have a unique
to
strategy
get
that
the
can
word
help you
out.
make
You know,
upwards of
our
$300
feeling
to
was that,
$500 a
and you
day.
said it, if we
I have a
don't
method
get
that's
the word
created
out,
great results for my
what's
students
the
because it can
science?
take you literally
Yeah, no.
less than 15
Science
minutes of your
communication
time to
is
learn.
why I
We'll
came
get
to
you
the
started with a
AAAS
quick
conference.
overview of
So
a
when I saw
time-tested
the
strategy.
documentary competition,
Plus,
I
we'll
was
give you
like,
a
this is
sneak
exactly
peek
why
of
I'm going to be
charting
there. It
tools
was
that will
it
make
was
it
really
easier
exciting to
along the
do.
way.
Okay, so
Sound
my
good?
first
All
question
you gotta do is
was,
click the
who
link
helped
on
you
this
film
page
it?
below.
And the answer is,
No one. My lab bench helped me. I propped it up and put a self timer on and just shot from there. Yeah.
I was also, I remembered the one shot over is it the river?
Yeah. So that was in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Oh, in Poughkeepsie. We used to live in New Paltz. So
Yeah.
I was just so worried that
Probably
the
not gonna
iPhone was
happen.
Shot,
If you're
right?
not
Not a
already
bird.
pulling into Friday,
used
whatever they
to
do on
because
Monday
I
will
actually
likely tell you
believe
how
that,
close we are to
and on
progress.
Sunday
If they
morning,
gap it over 30,
10
we're likely
to
gonna pop out on
11:30
Tuesday,
around
Wednesday,
the
or
corner,
Thursday.
I will be
If they
teaching
gap it down
a
on
smartphone
Monday, or if
filmmaking
they
and
flatline it
photography
to
workshop.
accumulate,
Come
well,
if
No,
you're still
that's
there.
most
on the
important
seat.
after
And
the
then
green
once
candle,
I wrote a small
all
script,
I'm trying to tell
that's when I
people is that you should
decided
just be
this
mindful
should
of,
really have some
again,
science
if
shots,
you're actually in a core
some other
position,
thing to tie
if
it
the
in,
stock does
and that's
this,
kind of when the
you should
idea
be
came
like,
together.
cool.
Very
I could buy
good.
more.
Yeah, I think that it's really,
If you
it's
say,
something that a
cool, I
lot
could
of
buy
people
more, that actually
outside of
means you are in a core
filmmaking,
position.
documentary
I
filmmaking
never
think,
want
and
to
this is
sell
the case
shares.
with my
If you
students,
say you don't want to sell
is
them
that they
today,
think that they can
but
make
it
a
drops down
documentary
here
by
on
picking up a
Monday or
camera,
into earnings,
having
you're
an
like,
idea about a topic,
now
and
I
then
got the
go
space stack, right? That's not a core
film
position.
something.
And actually understanding
But
what that is and actually
in my
being
world
properly
of
positioned
documentary,
is what matters.
we have
And
to
again, as an
research
example, like the person who I gave
as
John, like he bought into here.
diligently,
right? He
I
bought
think,
like
as
2 or 3
scientists
times.
do.
He
The
started turning into
topic,
here,
the
I
casting off
thought
right
that
here on Monday.
and that's
So
kind of how it
that's
Oh,
came
that's a
together.
really
Whatever
good
happens
learning.
on,
Yeah,
on Tuesday.
the
There's only 4
writing
trading
kind
days
of
next
gives you
So there's
like
only
a
4 sessions
roadmap,
until
but
OPEX.
you
We're
change
we're
things
gonna
from what
maximize it
you
for sure.
initially intended,
Just
right?
Oh,
which way?
yeah,
I don't know.
definitely. I couldn't just, it didn't just come out of my
Exactly.
mouth. I
Alchemist,
was like,
Venus,
this
Rocket
is
Man,
the
are they gonna
message
be
I want to
playing,
say. And
right?
even though
There's gonna
it's in
be
my
the
head, it
entire
kind of has to
world
be
is gonna be
fixed
watching,
into
right?
a
Richard
certain pattern
Branson
before it
plus
can
whoever
actually
other
be
celebrities.
put in video.
Okay.
And
Okay, so you said you hadn't seen
I
this
have a
on a
card
big
right here
screen.
about guest
Nope,
list, right?
not at
Okay,
all.
so what would be the
here you go.
one thing that you would change?
Here's who CNBC says might
Well,
do
I
well,
think
right?
I
Tom
think I
Hanks,
mentioned
Angelina
this to
Jolie,
you,
Brad
but
Pitt, Tom Cruise,
I was very
DiCaprio,
sick
Ashton
while
Kutcher,
doing the
Justin
voiceover,
Bieber,
and there's a part
right?
where I kind
What
of
if those guys
pause
fly
where I
out?
don't
You think
need to
people are gonna be
pause. So
wanting to tune
I
in
feel
for
like
that?
I would do editing a
Prime
little
time.
differently,
Okay.
as
50th
well
anniversary for
as
Apollo.
lighting
It's
and
Richard Branson's, I
kind
think
of
it's
hand
70th
stability.
birthday.
I know there's a couple of
50th
tools, and maybe
anniversary
you can
of
talk
Bird
Yeah,
about
Box,
them.
stabilization is really,
Like,
really difficult
jeez.
for
That's why the
for
company IPOs,
small
like a cash
cameras and
out.
phones.
Richard
But I
Branson
thought that
is-
you did a
if he owns,
marvelous
like,
job of using
58% of
the
company,
camera to kind of,
right? He's
like when you went
personally
across the
made a few billion
The water.
pipettes, no, the
Right, 'cause
pipe,
he's worth
The
about
bench, the
the
pipette.
bench, the pipettes.
8.
When you went across and then you went
Million?
over kind of fast.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was
Maybe
really
3.
gave it a lot of energy.
His
Do
net
you
worth is
do you
not-
all
is
have
not
any
even 3, I don't
questions
think.
while we get into the conversation?
Net worth.
Oh, she said, how did I choose the music? I
he's
think
worth
it
$5
was
billion.
mostly,
So,
I didn't want it to
again,
distract
if
from
you-
what
if
I
you
was
think about
saying,
the
but I
gains
feel like
that he's made on this, right? He got
I
in
watched,
cheapo, right? He got in cheap
there was a
shows.
video up
So,
on the
if he's
contest
made 3
page
and he's worth 5, right? he's
giving a
almost
couple
doubled
of
his wealth,
tips and
right?
instructions
Boom.
on what a good
If the
documentary
stock
is.
actually goes to 50
And
or
the
100,
use of music can
he's
be really
super
helpful in
dumb
kind of
rich.
guiding the audience.
Right? He's starting to get that Elon
So
Musk
I
money,
wanted
baby.
something subtle that
Right?
didn't
Get that
really
Musk money.
overshadow my voice, and that
He
seemed like a good
understands,
fit.
right? Gotta have a
Thank
public
you.
company.
Yeah, as part of the preparation
worth
for
5.
the
He's just
festival,
pumped out another 3, right?
AAAS and I did a
Boom,
webinar
boom,
of me doing
Branson's gonna want to get paid too.
a how-to.
Yeah.
You know, what to think about, what makes a good documentary, what's a good
Yeah,
story.
you should not be in a trade you
And
don't
I
understand.
encourage
If you don't understand what's
moving
happening with the
forward
stock, you shouldn't
this
be
is
in
an ongoing competition that will
That's a-
happen
that's a
next
no-brainer.
year.
Okay, well,
If
I don't really
students
have
are
anything else to go through,
participating,
so if you
watching
guys
that
have more
video
questions,
is a great,
now would be a good
great
time. Otherwise, I'm
guideline
probably gonna start
to
wrapping
how to
up.
do it.
Okay, so hopefully the streamers watching this will take it to heart and pay attention. And we'll probably do more.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
in the back.
share structure is really tight, so these guys are in full control.
Can't
right?
hear.
They can
Can-
literally
come
dump
on.
it anytime they want. They can
I think
rally it
you
anytime
said
they
software,
want, because
right?
there's only so many shares out there, and when they're swinging around like 100,000
Well,
shared bids
software,
and asks, they can
I
do whatever
limited
they want.
myself to just my phone.
Literally, they
So
can
I
literally
used
do
an
whatever they
iPhone
want. They
8
can do
Plus,
anything.
and then I
It's like
downloaded
a penny stock, just
iMovie
because of the way that it's
and
structured.
did all
right?
the
It's
editing
so
there.
tight.
The voiceover was on voice recordings.
Next week is
So
going to be like
just
Tesla.
adding
so
all
if
those
we
clips
just go back
together,
look at the
and
way that
then
Tesla blew
I
off,
say
right? Blew
shooting
off top,
didn't
this
take
part
that
right here.
long. I say if there were
Actually,
2
let's
minutes
look
of
at the weekly.
video, I had about
So
12
what I want to just
minutes
look at here is like
recorded,
what percent
and then it was
gains
just
it made into the last
pick
part.
and
So
choose
from
what
its
I
base to
wanted.
its top,
And editing
ran
took a
up
little longer just because I'm
200%.
not used to editing
So
on
if you
my
look at the
phone.
base from right
But I would
here,
say
right, that's the
overall,
problem
I
too, is that
spent
we've
a
already ran up
good
200%.
day
Already ran up like 400%.
working on it. Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's
So, like, what base
incredibly
do you take it
efficient.
from?
I mean, shooting just the right amount to
Like,
bring
that-
into
that's the problem. Like,
post-production
it's
Yeah.
hard
makes
to
it
compare it to what
very,
it's
very
running at.
efficient.
So,
And this really
let's look at the last
shows
few weeks,
that
the
you
last
can
3 weeks. The last 3
use
weeks we ran up
native
over
apps,
80%. So
not spend a
1,
ton of
2,
money on
already
anything.
up 60% here.
And
Actually, no, we're
really
up 70% in
communicate.
2 weeks.
That was
And
one
so-
of my
In 3
concerns when
weeks,
I
we're already up
first decided to do it.
80%,
I'm
right?
like, how am I going to
So-
do this on my phone?
So
How do they
we-
want me to
we've
do it
already
on my phone?
crushed Tesla in
So
terms of absolute
we
gains
also talked
and
before we
near-term
came
gains.
up.
So now I just think it's
You're
now I just
this
think it's
isn't
about,
your
are we
first
gonna finish
rodeo
off the
in
pattern here? So
media.
if we look
No,
at the cameras,
I
right?
do science
Big push,
communication for my graduate
gap, and
program. So I
climax.
run
So I
our
think we're
social
putting in, like,
media
this week right here
pages,
is what I'm saying.
Instagram, Twitter,
next week is gonna
Facebook,
be like this week. So
and
if you look
we
at the
try
big
to
brick on
do
the
a
top,
couple of short
what you have to
videos,
just know is that when
much
we open up the
shorter
week,
than
we
this,
open up
usually
here and we
limited to
pushed,
30
right? We never
seconds.
got stronger,
But yeah,
right? We just got
I've never
stronger
done a
as the week
longer
went on, as
video
the day
like
went
this
on. And
one.
the week
How did it feel?
Well, we sold off hard. I'm just not
It
sure
was
what day they
interesting
do
to
that on.
need a storyline.
Or,
I feel like
again,
when you
there's
have
also a
30
hole
seconds, it's
between
okay, we're going to
OpEx
talk
and
about this,
earnings.
and that's
So
it. So trying to
OpEx is
figure
right
out
here.
how
So
to,
earnings is right here.
you know,
OpEx is
fit
on the
everything into
21st.
2 minutes
So
and not make it
there's a
boring.
4-day
I know 2
hole
minutes is a very short time,
between
but when you're
when we
used to
have
30
OpEx
seconds, it
and when
feels
we
like
have
an
earnings.
eternity.
So
Exactly. That's a
yeah.
really good point. For
right?
me,
So maybe what they do
I would have
is they just do
serious
this, right?
trouble
So
because
we
I
use it
work
in
in
OpEx,
long form,
and then
actually
flash
making a
dump it
film
into
that
earnings.
worked in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. So one thing I've started to do, because
it's
I
hard to
really
tell
embrace
at a
social
certain point,
media,
maybe they do it
and I think
before.
that it's an important,
We don't really
positive
know who's
tool, even
positioned
though
on
it's
what
used
side and like what these guys are thinking. There is a
probably more
preset course.
negatively
We
today.
just don't know what it is. right?
But
Maybe it
I've
goes this way,
started on
right? And then comes
Instagram
down anyway.
at my students'
There's a
urging
lot of scenarios that can do.
to create a series of selfie interviews with other people that I know, people that I don't know.
I think it's
I did
outperformed
one
everything
that'll be
this
up
month.
probably tomorrow with a guy out front from AAA, who's here at AAAS, who
What you guys
talked
don't
to me
even
about
understand
how
is
the
this is
best
not the real rally. The
scientists
real rally
are
is gonna be the
infants,
one
and
that
we have
comes
to
like in
figure out a
July. That's gonna
way
be a
to
face
keep
rip
that
rally.
science
It's literally
interest
gonna rip your
going
face off.
from
You don't
infancy
even know
to
what to do.
young
It's gonna go
adulthood.
up so fast.
So if you're interested, it's hashtag Hey It's Larry, and you'll see this. Somebody else came up with the hashtag, but I'm trying to
You
co-opt
can also
it.
set conditional orders.
So the
if
more
you get stopped out, you
stuff
can set in a
I
buy
get from
below,
y'all,
right?
the
So
better it'll be.
If I hit a stop loss at
Other
5%,
questions?
put in a buy 5% lower. So if it drops down 10%, you sell it halfway, and you're able to buy the
That was a
bottom.
question I had too.
But
So
again,
what were you
those are
looking
more
for?
complicated.
Well, we actually have a rubric.
It's easier just to manage a trade
It's
that's
top
open.
secret, and I would have to, go underground if I told you everything that was in it. But basically, we're looking at what we look at when we look at the AAAS
Why-
Kavli
why don't you
Awards
think they may
for
release the
professional
initial launch date during
newspaper
Feb 25th
journalists,
ER? Why you're
um,
thinking later this year? Feb 25th
short
earnings makes a
video,
lot of sense for release of initial
online
date.
video, and
My
long
simple
form
answer is just because they can
TV and
maximize
video.
it, right? It's
And
another
it
event where they
breaks
can play the
down
battle
to the
anytime they want.
combination
That's
of,
a card in their back
um,
pocket that they can
the
literally pull that card
scientific
out, slap it
content.
down anytime, and
Is
then
it
jets
accurate?
Go off. So
Is it
we would
told
see
in a way
not just a
that
little bit of activity at
meets
35, we would see
the
crazy
intended
activity,
audience
right? We
at
would
the
see
right
like
level,
50,000 stacks,
right?
right?
Visually,
if
are
see
we
that on
brought
Monday or
into
Tuesday,
the
maybe
story?
we would get that into-
Because we have
into
to
the earnings
remember
there.
this is a
But the reason
visual
why I think they're
medium, so we're
not going to
looking
is because,
at that.
if
We're
they
looking at
open up
pacing,
pre-sales
which
again
you
during
talked about a
earnings,
little bit.
they have pre-sales
How
of
does
like
the
1 to 2
editing
billion,
contribute
depending on
to
what
the
price they choose to
engagement
charge.
of the
At
audience?
250, they have $1 billion
We're looking
in
at the
pre-sales. I think they have about
writing,
300,000 customers. I think
the
it was
clarity,
347.
the wordsmithing,
So times that by
where there were
250K,
some words that your your vernacular was a little up, but given that you're a
Hold on.
scientist becoming
Let me
a
just check my math.
visual
So there's an article of it.
storyteller
I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I think
telling
it's on here.
her own
They've got
story
1 to 2 billion
made for a
in
really,
pre-sales.
to us,
If they
a
announce
really
that, that could
interesting,
be enough
layered,
to justify,
really
again, look at
nuanced,
the
unlike
market cap size. It's right now it's only worth 5.
potentially what other
It was a lot
pieces
lower.
were.
So
but
how
if
would
they
you
announce up to
suggest
$2
for
billion in
scientists that want to
pre-sales,
compete to kind of
again,
really
like Tesla
know what
says,
kind of
put a
language is
$100 deposit
appropriate
down and you can get the
for a
Tesla
more
truck.
general audience and
These people
what's
pay in
a
full
little
ahead
bit?
of time.
Sure.
I go through that in the
Um,
video, but I think if they
Before I
just announced
answer that,
so
I want to make sure
if
that
they
people
were to
understand
announce the
that when you have to
pre-sales
compress
with the
stories
launch
or
date,
have to use words
that's a rally
that
that
may
has to
not be as
sustain and literally go
scientifically
all the way into
accurate
July. You
as
have
the
to keep
words
going straight
a
straight
scientist
up.
would use,
If
we
let it drop,
at least I
so
am
again,
not
what
dumbing
they could do
down
is
science.
do something like this,
Anybody who
right?
says that, oh, we got to
Maybe
dumb
let it go
down
into here.
science
Oh,
is
actually,
insulting the science,
Let it
the
squeeze out
scientist,
first,
and the
squeeze
audience.
down into here,
Okay,
right?
so
They announce the
I
pre-sales,
think
we
of
go up to
myself
50,
more
like I showed on the
as
weekly.
a distiller.
We go up to about 50.
I'm taking
And then they create
your
a
raw
drop down
material,
here
your
to 25,
reporting,
and then
your
on this curve
insights,
right here,
and I'm distilling
right,
it
that's
into
where they
something that
announce the
can work
dates.
as a
So that between,
narrative
call it like,
in
what
my
is this,
domain.
March?
You have
So
your
March,
narrative.
April, May, June,
I have my
July,
narrative, and there are
5
overlaps,
month pump,
right?
right?
So
5 months of pump.
one is
So
to
they do it right there, and then that's the rally.
when
that
you're
sustains all the
writing
way into the launch date.
narration,
So that's what I would do. I could
don't
be
have a
wrong.
lot of numbers in
I
a
think
row.
That's the one right there, though. Boom.
Always remember that the last
That was a good question. So,
sentence in a paragraph or a
one more
thought
time.
is the most important. Don't forget that the last word, the subject, I mean the object, the object
This is
of the
a
sentence
sexy way to go into
is
space.
the
It's
most
not
important
like,
word in the sentence. So a
there's
lot of
more
times
to
we
this
have to
than just the,
invert our
just the
sentence
business,
structure
right?
to get,
There's the
for instance,
appeal.
if I
There's
say
also going to be a huge media
14,000
right?
people
If you
are
look at the way that Richard
injured
Branson
or,
does
or
media
killed
events, right?
a year
He's
in the
he's
United
a very
States
chauvinistic
alone,
guy, right? He likes to put on a
that
big show, right?
15,000 is gone. I have to
It's
say, in the
literally
United
Apollo
States,
50
every
Apollo
year
Apollo
alone,
50th anniversary.
cars kill,
It's his
vehicles
70th
kill
birthday. It's the 50th
15,000
anniversary
people.
of Virgin Galactic.
Oh,
Sorry, Virgin
15,000
Airlines.
people. So it's
And,
story
right?
structure, it's writing
It's Branson's
technique,
birthday on the 20
simple
on the
declarative
18th.
statements.
Apollo's 50th anniversary. Virgin
Breathe
Group's
between
50th
thoughts. Let the
anniversary.
audience
This
in
guy's
your
gonna wanna put on a
editing
mega show,
always
right?
have
Not just a
space
show.
to
He's
say,
gonna wanna be showing
whoa,
you,
that
look,
was really
look what I did
interesting.
over the
I
last
need
50
to.
years. And if you
I
think
need to
about the
bring
way
that
he
in.
actually made his success. It was with
I thought you did a very good
Aviation
job of
Airlines,
actually
right?
hooking the
Virgin
audience right at the
Airlines.
beginning.
So
Thank you.
what's
You
the
know,
ultimate
because
airplane? It's a plane going into
information,
space,
facts,
right? And he's going to be
to
on the flight.
me,
He's gonna be showing you,
don't
look,
matter unless
look at
the
everything
audience
that
cares
culminated
about
over the last 50 years for me to
the
get to
subject.
here, right?
So
I
get
started with
me
Virgin Airlines,
worrying
right? And then I
or
built this
caring
media-
or
sorry, I started
empathizing
with Virgin,
with your
Music,
subject. And I
then he
think
went into
because it
airlines,
was
but that's where he
almost
made his
like
big money,
an autobiography,
So again, this
you
is the
made
ultimate,
us care about
airline.
your vision.
It's Virgin Galactic.
So those are some things to think
So
about.
50th anniversary
Thank you.
for
Oh,
Virgin.
you're welcome.
And for
Thank
Apollo
you. Thank
11,
you.
Right. It's
Other
also his
thoughts,
birthday,
questions?
And I think it's a 70th birthday.
Yeah, so the takeaway
And, like,
is
he's almost died. like
anytime
18
you're
times.
communicating or talking
Um,
to anyone about science
he's
and their
literally,
eyes
like,
start
that
to roll,
crazy.
find a way to hook them back into
Right? Talks about he
engagement.
almost died 12
right?
times.
I
many
mean,
people
I'm
do
not
that
a
almost died
scientist.
12
I don't
times
play
or a
one on
billionaire,
TV,
right?
but my
Normally they're
entire
just
career is
cruising out in their
dependent on
yachts or in their
science.
big mansions.
I could
They're out
not
there trying to kill
be as
themselves.
successful
Right,
as
living
I'm.
large,
I've
cheating
worked on
death.
over 250 films over the course of my career.
If you understand who Richard
Not
Branson
all in
is
the sciences,
and the
some
reason
Food
why
Network,
they IPO'd this company,
but
this is
it's
a pure
all
play.
the same.
It's not
And
Virgin
again,
Group,
when you're
it's
thinking
Virgin
about
Galactic, it's not
communicating
Virgin Orbit,
what
it's
you
Virgin Galactic.
know about the world,
And
what your
it's
field
very
of study
strategic.
is,
So yeah,
figure
he's died
out
12 times.
how
This
you
guy's gonna
can
put on
talk
a huge show.
to
Huge.
me about it. You know what? I always ask scientists at the beginning
David,
of a conversation.
This is going to be a fantastic way
or
to get in. And again,
just
the
with my,
options, we can get exposure.
Larry-
So,
hey, it's
again,
Larry
let's pretend
Selfies.
That the stock comes down
In
to,
less
say,
than 30
25. You can
seconds,
probably buy the 35s for about $1.
Tell me,
So,
who are you?
we
What do
can
you
pay
do?
about $1 for
And
exposure
most
to a stock that would be worth
importantly,
like 25. So
within
you
those
get
30
25x
seconds,
on
why
every dollar we
do
get.
you do
And
what you do?
that's what I'm planning on doing. Going for
I
Because
July.
it's in there.
July
That's
expiry, because
sometimes
July
extremely
expiry
hard
just
for
means that,
scientists.
we
You
give the guy
get super
the
excited
chance to
about
just
what we do, and
work his
maybe
master
it's
plan.
a
So you
very
buy
short
some for
intro of
July
who
and you
we
buy some
are
for,
and
Jan
why we do
2021.
it. also
give
pretty
them a full
long,
year
but
to
when you
supply it
ask
out.
us, what do you
Something
do?
else to
It's
remember
hard
about
to
the stock
condense.
is that,
Everyone wants to just
every single
go on
time
and on
there's
about their
a rocket
research.
ship that takes people off
Well,
into space,
then
that's
maybe
gonna be a
next
media
year we'll
buzz,
have
right? Who's flying up into
a
space this
directing
week? Is it
session.
Angelina Jolie?
Directing session. That would
Yeah,
be great.
we're.
Not on the first
I,
flight,
this is what
but
I
on
want
the
to do. I
second
want to.
flight.
I want to
So
set up a
every
studio.
week, right,
I
there'll
want
be
to
a
do the
media
interview that I
circuit
do with
around
anybody
this.
coming walking in,
It's super exciting.
and then
If
we'll
you
do
don't
an
already
instant
know about this,
replay
like,
and
this is some
analyze
cool
how you
shit.
did.
That's
So
very
let Tom
nerve-wracking,
Cruise
but it
flies up
also
one
sounds
week, right?
exciting.
But I can
And
make
goes
you
up
comfortable
forever, I don't
within a
know.
few minutes.
I'll
As
be the
people start
first
flying
person to
up
go
all
up.
the time, right? Boom, 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 boom. People are going to be
That's a
buying up the
deal.
stock.
And now it's
boom
on
city.
camera, so I
It's
can't back
been
out.
streamed. I don't have a choice. But what do you
Boom
think about
city.
that? You like that idea?
And the last
Okay,
thing I
so
would just
write
mention
it
as
in
well
so
is
we
that
can
the-
do it.
The biggest risk
Sounds
to the
like a good
stock is
learning
that,
experience.
It
there's
is.
a
It's
blowup
really
of a rocket.
astounding
So
because
if
there
you
are
play the run-up
there
into
are
the July
some
date, right? You can also
innate
sell some before the actual launch
species
date. So just like on Potsdam Day, if we go back to legalization,
evolutionary
right, everybody knew October 17th, but for some reason people were still
triggers
surprised when we had
that
a waterfall after.
can help me
So
as a
the run-up on
director
Canopy, right,
gain your
legalization date was right here.
trust with
So the
very
one I'm trying to
little
point out as
effort
being different
and
this
to
time is that
lower the
we'll
tension that
know
you
the
feel
dates, right? We'll know the
when
date. It's
the
probably gonna be July.
apparatus is in your
The difference
face.
with this here is
Right?
that
So
there was no
that's
follow-through.
that's my job as a
And
director.
We won't be able to create a
get
media
it out.
circuit.
How
like
do
Richard
you, when
Branson
you're doing
can.
these types
So
of
it
interviews,
could actually
keep the
be,
scientists
right,
kind of
a
focused
rally like
on
this,
your main
but
question?
then we
Because
just
we
keep
seem to
squeezing
Oh,
get off
that-
track a lot.
Now we start having
That's
all the
really
celebrities
easy. I
fly
just
out.
look at them at the
And we
end
don't
of a
do the
sentence and I
canopy
say,
reversal dump, right?
"What
We
was
just
that
literally
all
keep
about?"
mooning, right?
No,
Just
sometimes
keep
I
moving
do
up.
if we're having fun.
So the difference here is that we
Usually,
we'll
I
have the
kind
one
of
date,
prep at
there
the
will be
beginning
run-up like
of
this.
the interview
so again,
saying,
let's pretend that like right here in March,
I know that a
they
scientist,
announced the dates.
especially
So
you know an
between March
MS
and
or
the actual date that
a
Richard
new
Branson flies out,
PhD,
probably July,
has to be very careful
that's
about the
ramp
word
that I think that
choices
if you leverage
because
correctly,
this will be
you can make
seen by
life-changing
peers, and you
money
will get
if you
slammed
haven't
if you say
already.
something that's
If you
not
haven't already made,
exactly
like, the money in
right,
space,
and
this
therefore
right
you
here
want
is
to
the
go
rally I
down
wanna buy.
tangents to
And then
qualify.
what I'm trying to say is that
My job is
there
to
potential
assure
when we
you
get to this top
that
here
your
that we
audience
just do the
is
same thing
not
that we did
your peer
on
review.
CGC,
That it's
after
all
the
about
pretend July 18,
communicating
that
to
we
a
have a
different
dump.
audience
And if you're
the
properly
importance
positioned
of
and you
what
get
you're
out
doing,
mostly
which
for
means
here,
you have
then
to
you don't have to worry
find
about it.
metaphors,
But if we
you
keep
have to
squeezing
find
higher,
symbols.
that's
The,
where if
the
you're properly
best
positioned
interviews that I've
before
ever
the date
done
and you're
have been with
preparing
Nobel
and making a
laureates.
plan so that
Why?
if we run up into the
They have no
July date
fear.
and we keep squeezing,
They don't care if
I
they
am
say, "Oh
I'm
yeah,
sufficiently long
this
in
helix
poor
is like
position that
well,
I'm
not
gonna
not
go
a helix.
FOMO, but I'm also
Yeah, this
prepared
thing
that if
is
the
sort of
stock
like
drops,
a
I'm ready to
horse
buy.
galloping across
And
the
again, I'm
plains."
talking about July,
And you know,
it's only
you would
February.
say something in your research
So
in
I'm
physics
trying to
and
get
say,
people the
"Oh my
mindset
God, what
that
did I
you need
just
to be
say
thinking
about that?" You know.
Why is the data
So
important? Why is the share
you will
structure
become
important?
more and more
Why is
comfortable
Richard Branson important?
being able
Why
to
is, the Apollo
not
data important?
fear
Why is
peer
this important?
reprisal,
Why is warrants being issued important?
knowing
It
that
all
you
ties
can
together.
rebut
It's all telling you a story.
that complaint
What are the
by
launch
saying
dates, right?
that
What are
was
these
not
things here,
a statement
right?
for a scientific paper.
Right? Launch
This was a
one,
statement to
right? Got the date
convince
right there.
this stakeholder, these stakeholders, to actually understand what's at stake.
And I think that was one of my biggest fears after I finished my video.
got one here for
I
March 20th,
showed it
right?
to everyone, and once my
Oh, they
lab
changed it.
asked to see it, it terrified me.
Exactly.
So that used to be
Okay,
Feb
I think.
19th.
What time? How are we doing
Now
on
it's March
time?
20th, and there's still the same question
Yeah,
mark
we're
where it doesn't
just
show what's actually going to
just
be going
at
on.
20 minutes.
And
So,
now, it looks like they've actually
You know,
gone and updated
my
this.
name is
This
Larry
very
Engel. I
interesting.
can be reached at American
'Cause I have
University
screenshots
at
of what it was
Engel
before.
at american.edu.
I'll just do
I
a quick check
answer
here. I'll stay on for a little
email.
bit longer.
My job is to
enough
teach and share
engagement. And
my
again, I
knowledge.
love this
We will
stuff. I
stay in
love
touch.
talking about it.
I hope.
Definitely.
It's cool shit.
And
Right?
you'll end up
Space
with a
is fucking
production
cool.
company and
Virgin Galactic's cool.
do very, very well. And
Richard
and
Branson,
honestly,
for
I
being a
think that
7-year-old dude, he's pretty cool.
communication right now,
So the
communicating
Bold
what
rocket,
you
again,
do,
that's the Virgin Galactic
is
is also like I think it's
so critical.
like
We
11
don't
or
have a
14
lot of
years old.
time
They've been working on this for over a
in
decade.
any of our fields.
So Richard's
to
not
do
gonna
what's
put his
right.
life at undue risk.
So work with even at universities where you may have
all-time
a
highs for 10
journalism
years,
department,
don't think about share price. Think
you
about
know,
market cap.
strategic
So
communication, or on
if
your
this thing
own.
was going to become $100 billion
Push it out.
company. So
Yeah,
again,
no,
let's
there's
just
so many
pretend
personal platforms
that,
that you can use to
this thing
engage
is
with
gonna
the audience
squeeze to
and
what
just to
Tesla's
get your message
currently
out
worth.
there.
So
That
let's pretend
it's
that in
a little
5
nerve-wracking
years,
at first, but
space
once
could
you
be worth what
realize that you
Tesla is
can
currently worth
voice
today. Not what it was worth at
your
1,000,
your knowledge,
what it's worth at
it's a
$800
really
a
exciting
share.
thought.
So
Feels
Tesla's
good,
worth
right?
It does. It
144.
really
Yep.
does.
If we
How
now
does
go
that
back back
feel?
to space, which is worth 1 or 5.6.
Great. I think I need a bigger TV to watch it at home
You
now.
can get a rough estimate
There
for
you
that.
go.
If it
Thanks so
grows
much
into
and
the valuation
Thank you.
that Tesla's
Thank you.
currently
Great
at,
job.
144 divided by 5.6, 25 times. So that's 25,000%. Every $1 in would be $25 out. I think that the canopy hype top would be a good level to look at. It's about 40 billion.